so when we came up with this idea to save our sons, in a city, for those who don't know, that graduates 30% of African American boys. I'll say that again. In New York City, only 30% of African American boys graduate from high school. Now that's not just a bad thing, that's a sure enough crisis. I mean, 70% of them are not graduating. We started our first school in the borough of the Bronx. The graduation rate for black boys in the Bronx is only 23%. Now, we could have done like most people are doing. They're having conferences, they're writing some books, and we need all that. They're analyzing the data, and otherwise having nice discussions in their living room as they talk about the problem. But you see, in the spirit of people like Brother Jack, who was a true visionary, he recognized that you can't just talk about the problem. You have to be counted as somebody who's on the front line addressing the issue and making a difference. Because ultimately, we will all meet our Maker, as Brother Jack did, so unexpectedly. The rest of the day is not promised to you, much less tomorrow. And ultimately, when you meet your Maker, and he asks you the question, while all this was going on, what did you do? Did you stand up and were you counted? Or did you just have a nice conversation about it like a lot of people do, like most people do? We started our school in the Bronx, and the school is not just an all-boys public school. If you visited the school, you'd see these young men in uniform, shirts and ties each and every day. Now, to wear a uniform is a nice thing, but it doesn't necessarily speak to your character. But for young people that we're saying we're preparing for the future, you know what it feels like to have a 17 or 18-year-old young man walk over to you in a high school, and you're sending him out for an interview for a job, and he doesn't even know how to tie a tie? Family doesn't go to church, doesn't have a father in the house, or a professional who's ever taught him how to tie a tie. Who's ever taught him the kinds of necessary skills that a young man needs to be able to navigate his way in this journey. What is the biggest part about the Eagle Academy? And it's what you're doing and what you're about to launch here. I will say this to you, the most profound aspect of our school, and I want to say this to you as I put this burden on you. The mentoring program that we have started is out of this world. We started out with about 50 men who stepped up to be mentors. We now have close to 200 men who have gotten off the sidelines and they've gotten into the game. Who said, I can't save the whole world, but you know what? I can save this one. And we don't need you to save the whole world. Just play your position and save this one. And so it's been a great experience for me to be able to see how this one idea started out with a 9th grade, and we have literally now, we're in our 5th year, having graduated our first group of young men, sent these young men off to colleges and universities all over the country. The mayor of New York and the chancellor have been so supportive that they have now allowed us to replicate this model around New York City. And we are going into 7 very specific neighborhoods. For those of you who don't know, 75%, listen to this, 75% of the prisoners from the entire state of New York come from 7 neighborhoods in New York City. I mean, you think about that. Rochester, Syracuse, Albany, Buffalo. 75% of the entire state prison population is made up of young people from 7 New York City neighborhoods. Those are the neighborhoods that we have said to the mayor, we want to go into those neighborhoods and we want to build an Eagle Academy. And so we have just launched our 2nd school this year, this past September, in the Ocean Hill-Brownsville section of Brooklyn. And we've started now with a 6th grade. Because we said if we really want a sustained level of success, you don't want to start at the 9th grade. You need to get to young people earlier than that. You need to have a bit more runway to get that plane up in the air. And so we have done that, and we are now moving forward and moving in several different neighborhoods, and we've been asked to go all around the country. I share all of that with you in the spirit of the work that you're doing here with your AIM program, because we have an after-school component to the Eagle Academy. And I think that is a great place for you to start this program in an after-school setting, bringing young people together, giving them hope, providing them with the skills that are necessary for them to go on and have a successful life. After you work it out and you learn how to work together, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew, but you get a couple years under your belt and you make sure that things are working well, you're delivering on what you said you were going to do in that PowerPoint, and then you may want to start to expand your program and incorporate perhaps a Saturday aspect. So it's an after school and Saturday. I will tell you this, as we've always said, idle time is the devil's workshop or the devil's playground. To the degree that we can reduce the amount of idle time that these young people have, we need to stay focused on that. And so perhaps the AIM program will expand to incorporate activities on Saturdays and keep these young people engaged. Ultimately, if you have a deep sense of commitment and you want to make a real impact, you petition the city to start a school in the spirit of Brother Jack. Gospel Assembly, as a community partner, and all the other people who are here who care about this, who deeply and passionately care about this, you will see that the doors will be open for you to be able to do that. And once you move into that realm, you will then be making a huge impact. A school where you'll be able to run your own after-school program and to be able to run a program on Saturdays. Because the challenge you will have is as great an after-school program as you run, the next day they're going back to their schools. And if the schools are not reinforcing the values that you have instilled in them in the spirit of Brother Jack, you're constantly waging this uphill battle. And so I say to you all to stay inspired, to stay encouraged in the work that you're doing. I welcome you to this battlefield as we begin to save the lives